I'm leaving the grocery store yesterday, and I said goodbye to the sales clerk here in America, and he told me, "See you later, alligator." Why would you call me that?
Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another amazing video. You guys have seen Americans in Europe struggling, being mad confused and perplexed with the cultural differences between our home country and Europe as an entire continent.
Strange things in European supermarkets that confused me as an American expat. All cereals in Europe are super plain, and why don't they contain any candy like American cereals, which is delicious? Some cheeses are sold with mold on them, which is disgusting. Do Europeans really eat this? Chicken in Europe is not washed in chlorine like in the rest of the world, which makes it super dangerous to eat. How do Europeans not get salmonella or E. coli from eating their unwashed chicken?
Obviously, I love watching those videos because they bring about some entertainment that you can only get from viewing the diabolical, honestly. But today we're going to be doing something a little different. We're going to be looking at the inverse, right? Europeans traveling to America and giving their honest takes on what they've experienced. Some of these things are things I was kind of expecting, and others were things I never thought to consider. So if you guys have an experience of your own, if you guys are European and you guys have visited the United States at any point and you have some interesting takes on what you experienced out there, please let me know in the comments down below. And if any of us Americans have told you guys anything crazy about an experience that happened in Europe, please also let me know in the comments down below. If you guys are new to the channel, welcome. If you guys are returning viewers, welcome back. But as always, before we get started, like the video and subscribe if you haven't already. Already starting off with a strong one here, and it's spending over $60 for 4 beers and 2 appetizers?
Hey yo, what the?
Yeah, that's a ridiculous price point right there, and considering that a lot of places in Europe do not charge that much for the exact same thing that you would be getting in America, but that's not surprising. I mean, if you look at how much food costs in America, you would think that there would be some quality that comes from that. Something worth your buck, but a lot of times that's not the case. It's a huge ripoff, and you are left wondering why you spent $60 on 4 to 6 measly items that barely scratch the surface of what they should have. This one I think is a little strange because I think it's actually pretty easy to make friends in America. Now, I do think that the definition of friends in America versus Europe is very different. I think no matter where you look throughout Europe, making a friend is a very genuine thing. If you make a friend in any European country, that's pretty much a friend for life. You make a friend in America, it's basically synonymous with the word acquaintance. Like, yeah, I'll hang out with you at some point, possibly never. So I think that probably might be what this user is talking about. This person is clearly from Europe, and they're kind of going through it as far as their experiences with what they saw in America. And yeah, it's quite interesting. The making friends is hard. POV is interesting because I've always found it to be the opposite when people travel to the United States. They say people in the United States are very friendly, very welcoming, very inviting. It's actually easier to make friends in the United States, but I think it's harder to make long-term friends. If you guys have been watching my videos for a while, you guys know I've been preaching about AC. I love me some AC. Actually, as we are making this video right now, I got the AC blowing from this direction, and I love it. But I did not consider the people that don't really appreciate AC while they're eating in a restaurant where it is bitter cold. I actually love when I go to movie theaters and the AC is blaring, right? It's dark, it's cold, you can get cozy and watch the movie, but a lot of people don't like that. So question to you guys that are out there, and most of your cinemas out there in Europe, do they have AC inside the cinema or not? Tipping culture. We could talk about this all day, but I'll keep it short, sweet, and simple. It is out of control. Just like this person said, it's gotten to the point where you can go to a self-checkout kiosk, and that self-checkout kiosk will ask you for a 20% tip after you've done everything yourself. You've shopped, you've organized and bagged your stuff yourself, and it's like 20% tip for just existing, please. This also happens, but is not limited to coffee shops, taco stands, hot dog stands, I mean, anything. If you go out and purchase food from a place where you have to go physically walk up, collect the food, and leave, they want a tip, bro, and I don't fuck with that. For as much as I've talked a lot of mess about America, I can say one thing, and this right here is what I absolutely love. I feel like in America specifically, no idea is too crazy, no idea is too far-fetched, and you literally can be whoever you want, pretty much for the most part judgment-free. I do think that nowadays America has a very bad look, obviously for a plethora of obvious reasons, but I do think that something that remains true is the people within America, right? Like, you can have the biggest dreams on the planet, and no matter how big your dream is, people won't call you crazy because the next person over is just as crazy, if not crazier than you are. Europe is a lot more conservative when it comes to ideas of kind of being on edge and whatever. Generally speaking, if we're just generalizing an entire continent, that's the one theme I can see across all of those countries is, okay, yeah, like go to school, get a decent job, and do what you're supposed to do to provide a nice life for yourself. In America, it's so riddled with capitalism. Everybody's trying to be big. Everybody's trying to be famous. Everybody's trying to do something extravagant. And, you know, it has us running on the eternal hamster wheel. And playing off of the last thing I said, people live to work in America, they don't work to live. And that's kind of unfortunate. Like I said, the eternal hamster wheel. The cool thing about this double-edged sword is on one side of the double-edged sword, you can be whoever you want. You can strive to be whoever you want, and people will be like, yeah, good luck. I hope you make it, man. And you can if you try and work hard enough. But that's the thing. A small fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of people truly get to see success in thinking outside the box in America, especially in times like these. And that's where we have everyone and their pet cat running on the eternal hamster wheel. And it's not just that, it's how our society is structured, unfortunately. Things are the most pricey they've been in the last 15 years in America. People are struggling to find housing. People are living out of their cars. They're living in storage units. They're living every which way but in a regular ass house because it is too expensive to afford rent or mortgage currently in the United States, unfortunately. See, y'all might have seen this from every single American who's ever reacted to a European versus America video ever. Have you noticed that if you are in America, we don't really separate our trash? All of our recycling and our trash goes into one giant bin. I even told you guys we have recycling bins, but I promise you, you will find food and all kinds of non-recyclables inside of a recycle bin because as an American, right? We see a trash can look-alike and we associate that with trash. We don't associate it with separation of trash from recyclables. We think it's all just general trash. We will use a recycle bin as a general waste bucket. That is a very common thing, and you will see that sentiment carried from America over to other countries when Americans travel. And we default a lot, right? You'll see a lot of Americans throw their banana peels in a plastic recycle container in Germany and have everybody in Germany doing cartwheels and backflips in rage because they're like, did you not read the sign? This one's more of a tomato-tomato situation, obviously having dinner before 8. I've always thought that to be kind of weird because when I was growing up, my family had dinner at 11 p.m., which a lot of my friends said was way too late, but I think that's perfectly fine. But most of my friends had dinner at 6 p.m. Dinner at 6 p.m. sounds way too early, even now for me. I still think that's mad weird, but what time do you guys normally have dinner wherever you're from? Let me know in the comments down below. This one is strange because literally just a few slides ago, the same individual was saying how she had a hard time making friends, and yet this one's, oh, everybody compliments me on how good my makeup is, my outfits, blah, 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 and then finds it hard to make friends. But like I said, I clarified that. I did say that it's probably easy to make acquaintances in America, but hard to make genuine friends. And the definition of a friend in the United States of America versus a friend in all of Europe, right, is entirely different. I feel like having a friend embodies more of a genuine sense of that word in Europe, and it's more superficial in America. Despite our government doing everything in its power to make people feel unwelcome in the United States of America as of right now, I do think that the people themselves, a large chunk of the people that are separate from the government, that do not support the government's antics and stuff as far as anti-traveler sentiment, they do appreciate people traveling in from other countries. A lot of Americans are very curious about people who decide to come visit the United States. And it's like, oh man, like, welcome to America. It's a pretty warm feeling for the most part, which is really cool. But then there's a lot of people that are not very inviting. They're like, well, you know you're in America, right? You gotta speak American. So for the most part though, if I'm being serious, I feel like there's more positive experiences than negative when it comes to people traveling into the country and getting to meet the locals in America, the actual peoples and stuff, where, you know, it's like, hey, welcome to America. You know, we got this. It might be a little bit crazy, might be a little wild and suspicious, might be a little unsettling at times, but this is America and we welcome you. Words you'll never hear from our government, but you will hear from the people. But again, if you guys have experienced something different or something that's similar, let me know in the comments down below, because again, very eye-opening for me when I read you guys' experiences. I've been filling my free time reading you guys' comments. I promise it is insane. You guys got some insane stories, man. Making friends is super hard and everyone is just nice is kind of funny, but I get it. I feel like I'm going to be hitting on this theme quite a bit in this video, but yeah, the idea of what a friend is in Europe versus what a friend is in the United States are two different things. One is superficial and one is not. So I think that's interesting, but let's get into this next post.
I'm European living in America, and here's one thing that was very odd for me when I came here. The school system. How here in America you have elementary and middle school separately. I guess it's because maybe there's too many children to be all put in one building, but in Europe, from 1st grade to 8th grade, it's all together, like in one building.
All right, I gotta speak on this because I lived this experience before. This is not everywhere in the United States. I'm pretty sure the comment section will agree with me. For my people from America, you guys can speak on this as well. So I've said this and I beat this dead horse 1,003 times, but I am from Chicago. I will wear that on my chest for the rest of my life. I'm from Chicago, and actually most of the schools there are K through 8. So 1st grade through 8th grade. And I thought that was amazing. So typically you'll have elementary school and middle school together for a lot of the schools in Chicago. Now, other areas of the United States will have a different setup, and it depends on the county you're in, it depends on the city you're in, it depends on the state you're in, honestly, and that will determine what type of schools and how they have the schools divided in the United States and whatnot, how that goes, right? Because a lot of schools all over the country will have kindergarten through 5th grade as, you know, the elementary school portion, and the middle school portion is typically 6th grade through 8th grade. And that's something I thought was a little strange. I'm like, oh, like, why is it split like that? That doesn't make any sense. But she did mention something that's pretty interesting, and she's like, maybe there's too many kids. That's a good point. Now, my elementary school, which was kindergarten, so K through 8, had about 3,000 kids. 2,000 to 3,000 kids in just kindergarten through 8th grade. So yeah, a lot of kids. And unfortunately, there's not a lot of room in schools for all of those children. So they do block them off by academic standing, if that makes sense. So I think on that front, it makes a lot of sense. If you guys agree with what I just said, let me know. If I have it messed up and maybe it's structured in those various ways for different reasons, please enlighten me in the comments. But that was my understanding of why the schools in America were split like that. Not every school is split where kindergarten through 5th grade is separate from 6th grade to 8th grade. Basically, the elementary school is separated from the middle school. Literally, elementary school, middle school were one thing. And it is like that in a lot of places in America, but it is also, like she describes it, in a lot of places in America as well.
Classmates you have in 1st grade are the same people you're gonna have throughout the next 8 years. You don't go to different classrooms unless it's like for a computer or maybe science, if there's like a separate science lab, or art. Yeah, those are the only ones that we had to go to a different classroom. Otherwise, you stay in the same classroom every year, like you move up a floor. But the teachers come to you, like history, math, English, they come to you. You don't go somewhere. And we all sit in pairs, so it's not individual desks, it's paired, like 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. So if there's 5 girls, I was the 5th and the new student. I always had to sit alone unless one of the girls were sick. But I feel like we built such a bond because we're with the same people for 8 years, unless you change schools, that we Europeans, we see independence very differently compared to Americans. Like, Americans are very, I can do it alone, which is totally fine. But American children are, from school, they are taught to sit alone, do things alone, not keep the same friends throughout 8 years, which is a lot for kids. We built really close bonds with our classmates. I mean, it's been 20 some years and I'm still really good friends with some of my classmates, the girls. The boys, I don't know, they never liked me. Also, every day is a different schedule. You have science maybe like twice a week, English 4 times a week, math 3 times a week, PE 3, maybe 4 times a week. And every day it's different. And some days, one day out of the week, PE is gonna be like 0 class. So you have to come to school even earlier. It sucks. But every day is a different schedule. You have week A and week B.
Just to touch on that really quick, we actually did have class schedules that were similar to this where I grew up. We had basically like each student had their own syllabus based on what their interests were and what, you know, the course curriculum dictated they needed to know. So our day to day was very different. Like, you know, Monday you would be taking a different set of classes than you would on Tuesday and Wednesday. Again, this is all dependent on what school district you're associated with, where you live in America, because a lot of places in America are not like that. Where I grew up was like that. It was more of an eccentric school, so we did have a system that they were implementing that was newer, that was like that, but I'm acknowledging that that is not the norm in America. In America, typically your class schedule is set for the rest of the week. Like, whatever you did on day 1 is what you will be doing for the entire school year, and it does not change from day to day. It's the same mundane schedule. I do have a question though. Do you guys have what we call a recess? Basically a free period for 45 minutes where you can run outside and play, have lunch and whatever at your schools? Because we would have lunch and then we would have a period of time right after lunch where we just got to go play around and goof off and then come back to the classroom and go back to learning and stuff. Let me know in the comments down below. Now, I understand that obviously in every school you guys have a lunch period, but did you guys have a recess on top of that where you guys got to go and play outside and stuff? I'm assuming you did, but I don't know how the school curriculum works in Europe and stuff, and you guys got so many different countries with so many different rules. I'm perplexed.
And it's different every single day. We all have these little cards that we write week A and week B and then like the schedule.
Yeah, so that was actually pretty interesting. Very, very interesting, especially like the course curriculum set up on a day-to-day basis. I never really thought about that too much. I'm like, that's not that big of a deal, but it actually is a big deal. And it's probably one of the bigger reasons why a lot of kids in America are like, oh my God, school is such a drag. Like, it's the same thing every day. Like, a little bit of spice, a little bit of switching it up would be nice, you know, to keep us more like looking forward to the next day at school and stuff. Although no matter how you mix it up, every kid on the planet is going to find school to be at least a tiny bit boring. But the comment section kind of echoed some of my earlier sentiments. And this first comment says, the school scheduling thing you mentioned, y'all use block schedules, or at least that's what it sounds like. In my state, most people use periods, but some districts use blocks. Kind of just depends on where you're at. And that's exactly what I'm saying. It just depends on where you live, because different school districts abide by different rules and they have different scheduling systems and whatnot. And what I experienced in my school district was entirely different than the next school district over. Our next comment says, some schools have elementary to middle, kindergarten to 8th grade in the same school. When they're separate, it's because there's too many students. I went to a high school that had over 5,000 kids. Guys, and when I tell you this is normal, it's normal. Now, a lot of rural areas in America will have smaller schools and stuff. So schools that have a total student body of maybe 300 or less. And then you have, like, you know, the closer you get to a higher populated area, the bigger the student body is going to be. You'll have some schools that have 6,000, 7,000 students in a school. One school. Insane. It's just different. I'm not sure if the schools get that big out there in Europe as far as the elementary to high school schools go, but if they do, let me know.
So I'm leaving the grocery store yesterday and I said goodbye to the sales clerk here in America, and he told me, see you later, alligator. Why would you call me that? Why would you associate me with such a horrific creature? Do I have scales? Do I look like I have dry skin? They live in the mud and eat babies and grandmas. It just hurts my feelings.
I imagine this is the same on the flip side when Americans travel to Europe and we encounter a saying of some sort that just has us looking at y'all crazy. We're like, huh? What did you mean by that? All that means is it's like I can't even say it's a term of endearment. It's like a tongue-in-cheek way to say goodbye. It's just a thing, man. Don't be offended. It was actually the opposite. He was showing friendship. Yeah, it's a segue into a possible friendship. We love doing that in America, man. We will trip you into small talk conversations every which way but loose, man. Whether it is when you guys ask us for directions, it could be us giving you a compliment, and when you respond, we're like, boom, we got you. We got you locked in a unskippable NPC convo that might lead to a possible friendship. See you later, alligator. After a while, crocodile. It's the lyrics of a 1950s rock song. See, now that's something I did not know. I knew that it's something that's just been a saying in America since the dawn of the dinosaurs, but I didn't know it was a reference to a rock song. I didn't know it originated from a rock song. Didn't know.
Let's talk about how actually living in the US raised my self-esteem as an European. So I'm an Italian girl. I was born and raised in Milan. That's why I was like, I'm sorry if I say some words in English wrong, but you know, English is not my first language. Anyway, one of the first things that happens to me when I arrived here in the US, I was in a Walmart and this woman approached me and just gave me a straight compliment. She just said to me like, oh, I love your hair and I love your skirt. Where'd you get it? And I was like, oh my God, thank you. Like, I really didn't expect that because this is something that in my country would never happen. There is no way, like, man that approach you and tells you, oh, you look nice or you look hot. Yeah, that happened all the time. But I mean, we know why, okay? The fact that a girl stops you and tells you, oh, you look gorgeous. You look very nice. Love your skirt. I love your dress. This never happened, okay? Never. It never happened to me. I asked my boyfriend, I was like, is this normal? And he said to me, like, yes, that's pretty normal. That's happened all the time. Like, if we like something, we just stop and tell that person that we like her shoes or his shirt, whatever. And I was like, oh my God, this is actually like so nice. And this is something that boosts my confidence so much. Same things about my body confidence, okay? In Italy, a lot of people saying that we have a very body shaming mentality, and as an Italian, that's true. You need to be very skinny, okay, for being considered good looking, okay? Because my body, it's considered like fat in Italy, okay? Instead here, everyone like loves my body. All these things make me feel like so good. And this is something that I wish in my country will be implemented, but I think it never will. I recognize that about myself. Like, I will never stop a girl and say, oh, I love your dress or I love your hair. I will look at her and I will think that I like it, but I will never tell her. Probably this is because we've been raised to have a lot of competition with other girls. I saw many American women on this app that are currently in Italy complaining about this. And unfortunately, this is true. And one of the things that I love the most of being here is this, the fact that actually I can see girls supporting other girl. This is just something that I really love about this country.
Very interesting points made in this video, and I think this echoes a sentiment I said earlier in this video already, which is when you guys hear a compliment from a stranger, right? Does that make your day better or worse, in your opinion? I think my personal opinion is it would make me feel a lot better about myself. If I'm hitting the gym regularly, right, and I'm seeing progress, and I think I'm not seeing the progress I need to be seeing, but I'm seeing some progress, and I'm just walking down the street and somebody's like, dude, you're looking pretty jacked, man, and then just keeps pushing it, I'm gonna be like, whoa, know. I feel great about myself, man. It made my day feel so much better. But I don't know. There's like this weird sentiment in Europe, right? Where if you do lob a compliment, people look at you kind of strange and stuff. But I'm like, oh my God. Now let's get into something else that I do think is a universal complaint across most of Europe, which is body shaming, okay? In general, Europeans are a bit thinner than Americans, and a bit might be putting it mildly. But obviously, like, it depends on the country in Europe. Some are closer to looking American sized, and some definitely are far thinner than the average populace of all of Europe. So it's interesting because I've heard time and time again from, you know, Americans that have traveled to Europe that they felt like the beauty standard was through the roof, dude. Like, you have to have a size 0 in the waist for the women's out there. It's crazy. And so, of course, like she mentioned, there's this competitive atmosphere with women in general in the looks department and how you're supposed to present yourself. And it's a lot of weight, right? A lot of weight. And then on the flip side, they travel to America and they're heavily appreciated because as Americans, we're just heavy, okay? I know how much a single compliment can make my day. So if I ever see anything worth complimenting on another person, I don't hesitate to tell them. It's such an easy, small thing we can do to make this hellscape a little bit brighter. And that is exactly how I view it. I feel like giving a compliment to anybody is an attempt at making their day better. Now, I know a lot of people are like, well, why would you care about a random person's day? Maybe you're having a bad day, and a way you feel like you can better your day is by making somebody else's a little bit better, right? The world is already in kind of a weird turmoil state. So I feel like the least we can do is say something nice. Like, you know, the saying, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. Well, if you do have something nice to say, why not just say it? It makes your day a little brighter. Now, I could just be overly optimistic in that viewpoint, but I do feel like a compliment is a good thing and it would make your day feel a tad bit better. But I understand that people have different backgrounds and different perceptions of random compliments given to them. I can understand, for instance, women from all over the world, right? Red flags be popping off left and right if a guy gives them a compliment. And I understand that. But I'm saying, if you're a woman from Europe that travels to America and you get compliments from other women, wouldn't that make you feel good about yourself? Like, it feels good.
You know, one thing I've come to learn about my 6 years being in America is that Americans are like numb to the craziness that happens in their country. Like they're really born in a GTA lobby and they think that their world is normal. Like in England, like mad stuff happens, yeah, but we're aware that it's mad. Like 2013, 2014 days, there was an epidemic going on in England where man them were just getting acid thrown on them.
Excuse me? Acid? Well, I mean, I guess that's what y'all get for not having gun access, but good God, acid? That is insane. But not as insane as this video that's pretty much a normal day in America.
Shit going up on the block, me king. God damn! What the fuck is going on, bro? Whoa, I'm fucking leaving.
I mean, for real, that's a real event that happened, and this was just some guy's Saturday. And also, can we just give the guy some congratulations for the amazing camera work in this video? Good God. And it's just, we've seen so much stuff in the country that it just feels, it's desensitizing, right? Like, growing up in the city of Chicago, I've seen everything, bro. I've seen people get jumped. I've seen people get bricks thrown at them. People get shot at, all kind of craziness. And it's scary at first, and then later on, you're just like, okay.
Like, you're beefing somebody, yeah, acid can get thrown on you. You're a civilian, acid can get thrown on you. Like, but we all collectively understood that that was crazy. Like, that was wild. Like, it's a real GTA lobby that people have come to accept. Like, people can get shot on their way home from school. No gang affiliation, just regular. Outside their crib. And you ask them about it, and they're like, yeah, bro got shot, for me. Mad sad. Like, what? How? Why? What? Who? How did it happen? Like, for me, I need a whole peel essay on why it happened, bro. I need to know why. But for them, it's not. Yeah, bro was cool as hell, though. But he just got shot, for me. Wrong place, wrong time. That's it? No Nothing else. Real life GTA, I'm telling you. And it's normal. School shootings, normal. Why is that even a thing?
This was another real thing, and I talk about it a lot in my videos. Chicago was a very interesting place to grow up in because shootings were very common. Not necessarily mass shootings, but just day-to-day shootings, right? There'd be gang-related shootings and things of the nature. One fear that I had for a while, even up until very recently, and part of me is still kind of afraid of it a little bit, are cars that drive up next to me very slow. Drive-by shootings were very, very, very common in areas I wound up living in Chicago. I lived in various places in Chicago, and one of the more dangerous places I lived in, there were a lot of drive-by shootings, and it was very scary. It just looks like a car cruising by, and then all you see is a window rolled down and lots of flashing, obviously fireworks sound, and somebody gets hit. One of the biggest things that I noticed is it's never really the intended target that gets hit. It's always a random pedestrian. It just depends on obviously where you are in Chicago, because obviously downtown Chicago is not like that, right? But like if you are in, you know, the neighborhoods and stuff, it can get pretty interesting pretty quickly. All to say, there are many parts of America that are also like that as well, and it's scary. It's a very real reality for a lot of Americans on a day-to-day basis, and you kind of have to keep your guard up at all times. I think that is a default setting that you guys may or may not have noticed with a lot of the Americans that have been reacting to the European videos and whatnot. We all are heavily guarded, and we kind of like, we question everything. We're a little suspicious and very abrasive sometimes with different cultural differences between America and Europe, because a lot of the philosophies that happen in Europe are there because it's just objectively a safer place than America. And ironically, us having guns in America, they make us as Americans feel safer, but we actually create more dangerous environments for ourselves. Now, for the people, like I always say, that own guns that are responsible, yes, inherently their environment is safer, but we have a mass amount of people who are irresponsible that also own weapons in the United States, that it is actually dangerous for everybody that they possess those weapons. It's scary, very scary, and a very real and grim reality. As a proud, unapologetic American, I prefer dangerous freedom over peaceful slavery. By the way, school shootings were not a thing growing. We had gun clubs, and in some schools, kids would bring their hunting rifles because they would go hunting after school. I can tell this person is absolutely from the countryside of the United States. Yeah, there are obviously people who brought their rifles to school to go hunting right afterward and stuff. The country folk, they would go hunting, they could have their big old trucks and their camouflage ghillie suits and stuff. They'd throw it in the back. After school, they'd go in the woods and go catch whatever they were gonna eat for dinner. And that's different. That's totally different. That's what I'm talking about. The responsible people that own guns and stuff, and they understood gun safety and whatnot. But then again, we have a large amount of people that do not share the same sentiment. I'm telling you, America is very big. It's vast, right? And I understand when you guys say that, like, when you travel throughout America, it's not that different. I promise you, it is in different ways. Yes, everybody speaks English. Yes, you don't have to really change too much when you go from state to state, but you actually do based on a culture. There is a huge cultural shift when you're in a place like Chicago in New York versus when you're in another city or town like San Antonio, Texas, or Tucson, Arizona. You know what I mean? Like, very different. You navigate the world very differently. It's like you change maps and you have to change your behavior with each map you change. Your behavior changes with the location, and it's a survival thing. It's like, okay, like, what actions are acceptable in environment A and what actions are not acceptable in environment A? We aren't numb. We can't relate because the country is too big. When something bad happens, we feel like it happened in another country. This comment echoes the same sentiment that I literally just said. It just feels like a lot of the events that happen throughout America feel like they can't or won't happen in the area that we are residing in until they happen, and then boom, now we're traumatized because we're directly connected to an event that we've known about in the United States, but it has finally made it to our hometown.
Okay guys, we noticed a couple of times these like super big structures in the middle of nowhere, and we want to know what they are.
Well, that would be called a water tower. But let's see what the comments had to say about that. It's where we farm our audacity. Yo, I'm telling you, man, the comment section never loses, man. Never loses. Those are water towers. They help with maintaining water pressure for the nearby homes. Yeah, they're pretty interesting. I used to call them mushrooms every time my family and I would drive by one of them growing up. They're all over the place and they're a little wonky, I guess, come to think about it, because that's something I noticed driving through Europe I didn't see very much of. I'm like, oh, where are the water towers at? Now, I'm not saying y'all don't have water towers, but you definitely don't have water towers that look like that.
America is no joke. It's one of them things that you're really not going to understand until you've moved here. So I moved here 5 years ago now. It's something I can't even still get my head around. It's just so fucking big. Like, you can literally be driving more than 10 hours and still not be out of the state you're in. And there's 50 of them in one country. They've all got different laws and regulations and whatnot. It is literally 50 mini countries in one. And to be fair, it does have a few decent little states, like Florida if you want the beach and palm trees or whatever. If you want to go to the mountains and ski, you go to Colorado or Utah. You've also got Texas if you yeah, I don't know why you'd want to go to Texas. And I've still not met anybody who's gone to all 50 states. So if you have, drop me a DM and let me know your best and worst and where I shouldn't and should go.
Yeah, I've said this a lot, and you guys have also echoed the same sentiment. America is massive. It is huge. I also forget how big America is too. I mean, Texas, driving through Texas from one end to the other end of Texas will take you 72 hours. Okay, it is a big ass state within a massive country. Yeah, it does feel like each state is its own country for the most part, right? You have California, very strict on gun regulation, and right next door, you got Arizona, and they don't give a flying fiznuck. Okay, they're like, okay, cool. You can buy a gun. It doesn't have to be registered. You could just go buck wild. Bro, gotta be in Texas. Yeah, for as much shit as that man was talking about Texas, that low key sneak diss had to be aimed at Texas, man. Texas caught a stray bullet, man. It's a big ass state. I think the food in Texas is pretty good. Listen, there's any place in America that has smacking barbecue, right? Phenomenal barbecue, it's gonna be Texas. Never a reason to go to Texas. Don't worry, Texans out there, I got your back. The biggest reason to go out into Texas is their barbecue. It's very good. Now, there are other reasons as well, but the biggest reason, I think the only reason, is their barbecue.
I'm a Brit staying in the US. I have been here for a month now. I have 2 weeks left. I thought I would do some culture shocks that I did not realize would be a culture shock to me because I thought I knew enough about America. One thing is tipping culture in coffee shops. I understand servers, understand that they don't get paid minimum wage, so they need the tips to live on. I will not be tipping you at a coffee shop. Sorry, that might be an unpopular opinion, but I just do not think that it's worth a 20% tip. Another thing which I was aware of, but I didn't realize would take some getting used to, is sales tax. Seeing the price of something and then going to the till and there being an increase and you just not knowing what that increase is, takes some getting used to. That is so strange. I really wish they just included sales tax so you knew what you were paying.
This is something I've been waiting to talk about. I absolutely hate, from the bottom of my heart, how America implements its sales tax on products. Why can't we include, in this modern ass time frame, right? It's 2025 upon recording this video. Why can't we put the sales tax in the damn price so we can see the price of whatever we're buying in its entirety without doing Einstein level equations at the kiosk? That shit pisses me off. Oh my God, I've been preaching about this for years, because when I realize I'm living in Korea right now, and guess what? The price I see is the price I pay, because the taxes are in the price.
Another thing, and these go hand in hand, is one, stop the four-way stop signs and the first person who gets there goes. I think that's just a car crash waiting to happen. Secondly, turning right on red lights, and some of them they have to put a sign saying no turn right on red. Like, why can you not just have an arrow that turns green when you can turn right? Like, I just don't understand.
Okay, very valid point. I had not heard very many people bring this up, so we have something new on the chopping block to dissect. When I was learning how to drive, I did not learn how to drive till I was 21, by the way. A lot of people in America learn how to drive when they're like teenagers and stuff. I grew up in a city, so I never had to really learn how to drive because public transportation was peak for me. But when I learned about the right on red rule, I was a little sketched out about that because I'm like, dude, what if like you don't time it right and you get T-boned or something? Yes, you're supposed to stop at the red light and then look both ways, and if you don't see a car, you can turn right on red as long as there's not a sign saying no right on red turn, right? But I can see what she's saying. That is definitely some accident prone shit. Just like the four-way stop where whoever gets there first gets to go. I can't tell you how many times people have gotten into disputes over who got to the damn stop sign first. It'll be a four-way stop, and let's say I got there first. I'll proceed to go, but then two cars will move at the same goddamn time because they think they went first. But you know what happens? People text and drive, people drink and drive, and they don't pay attention. So the order of events is all fucked up because nobody knows who got where when, and people are also stubborn on top of that, and that perpetuates an inevitable car accident. It's very scary.
And lastly, your amazing, huge bathroom gaps. What is that? I think it's so stupid.
See, those bathroom gaps are something else we got to talk about. Why in the world can I see your entire frame through the bathroom stall? When people sit down in the bathroom stall, I can see everything from the sole of their shoes to the top of their kneecaps, damn near. It's scary shit. Like, might as well not even have a fucking stall, bro. Like, whoever made the idea for the bathroom stalls in America needs to get their fucking computer checked. But anyways, let's get to these comments, man. What the comments had to say about this? The sales tax is different based on what town you're in. It's not national like in the UK, but it's typically like 300% lower than it is in the UK. Some states it's 0%. Well, I don't know how they do things in the UK, but I can tell you sales tax is irritating. Listen, I think it's better to incorporate the sales tax inside the price tag in America, because let's say they do drive the price of sales tax through the roof, right? We as Americans won't know too damn much. We won't really care too much because we see the price we have to pay right in front of us. Yes, we'll notice that the price of whatever shot up a little bit, but we also know that that is the final price we have to pay. So we're like, man, did items get more expensive? Yes. But is that the price I have to pay and I don't have to do any additional math on that particular item? Yes. Tipping is out of control. If you walk up and order, no tip. Seriously, I'll end this video off with this one recommendation. If you're not getting good service, do not tip. If you guys enjoyed this video, let me know in the comments down below. It was a pleasure making this as always. I will see you next week with another big body banger. And until next time, take care.